Hello, everybody. Today is Friday, Fiscus Friday, of course. What a great week this has been. What a stellar week as we make this continual march toward launch. Today is Friday, the 11th of February, 2022. Very excited about today, very excited about everything that's going on. There has been such an increase in activity. Absolutely thrilled about that. Thrilled to inform everybody about that and what's going on there. The liquidity squeeze is actually in the admins are reviewing that now, so that it's been posted to them and it'll be going out to everyone here in the next few seconds. So you'll be able to see that as well. So much to talk about, so much to get into for sure. Some stellar questions that are just spot on with everything that's going on, and it's nice to have the answers to those questions and to have the data and the information that backs it up. So with that, I'd like to definitely turn it over to Kevin and hear everything that's going on with him and with all things on chain that he is dealing with.
Perfect. Thanks, Phil. Welcome, everyone. It's another wonderful Fiscus Friday. We're in the month of February now, Fiscus February, and things are really rolling. Like Phil said, we're super excited with all the progress that we're making this week. So let me just dive right into it. I'll start with an operational standpoint. Our compliance department, we met with an SEC lawyer this week, a legal counsel for us. And he informed us it was unlikely that we would have to register as a security. I know I mentioned last week that we were looking into this. We were going to cross all our T's and dot our I's. So that's really good news for us. Of course, he's not certain. He's going to take it back to his legal team, and they're going to look at it and give us further instruction. But as of right now, it's looking like we won't have to register as a security, which brings us tremendous momentum towards launch. Additionally, we are now in talks with a third-party company to begin our code review audits. Now, this is a pre-audit for our bigger audit post-launch, but this is definitely needed for the security factors that we were discussing last week. So this company will do stuff like code review, pen testing, vulnerability scans, and they're really going to help make sure that our code is perfect. Also, speaking of audit, our audit committee outline is being finalized as we speak, and it will be distributed by early next week. So what this is going to be is a criteria of some community members that we're looking for to join our audit committee to increase transparency for you guys. So they're going to have ability to check code, to have conversations with us about that, to be able to sit in with the other auditors and listen to what's going on, and then they can share that news with you. So these will be community members that had experience in coding, and as well as our trusted community members. So keep an eye on the Discord for that. And then the last thing on the operations side I want to mention was the Fiscus All Chain. That's some new terminology you saw this week on Twitter. All chain. We really like that. Some of the admins came up with that, and the idea behind the Fiscus All Chain, it's the best of both worlds. We're not a typical DAO. Phil always says that from the start, and so this all chain combines the on chain and off chain. I wanted to make it clear that this isn't a rebrand. We're still Fiscus DAO, but at the end of the day, this is a great terminology that we can add to Fiscus All Chain. So we're excited to throw that into some marketing initiatives, and that gives me a great segue into marketing and what we've done this week. So we made some big progresses on marketing. We discussed internally with the admins about what we're doing for our Twitter channel. As you can see, it's revived from our tweets this week. We plan to send out about 3 to 5 tweets a week, and we want to use the Twitter as an extension of the Discord channel with the main goal to promote initial incentives such as AMAs, upcoming events, and those kind of things. Additionally, we'd also like to share news from the crypto industry and run promotional ads. That'll be part of our launching strategy. Additionally, we have the admin set up our Reddit channel. So it's r/Fiscus DAO. You can go check it out. Go subscribe to that channel. There's nothing there yet, but we're definitely going to start populating that with information. Again, the idea is to draw people to Fiscus, to the Fiscus Discord, and start having conversations about it with the Reddit crowd. Additionally, we have registered our Facebook and Instagram. We don't have a huge primary focus on that right now, but we will start to ramp that up around launch time with some great video content that we've been getting from our admins. So again, special shout out to this community's admins. They're absolutely fantastic. So that's going on with that. We've all agreed that Twitter is definitely the most engaging and definitely the leading space of advertising and social media in the crypto universe. So moving with that, we also have our marketing plan has been finalized, and we're going to be ready to share that with the community sometime early next week. So we've got a lot going on the marketing end. I know there's been some comments from the community looking for some more marketing. We're listening to you guys. We've heard it. We have a plan. We're running that plan. You're going to see start to really ramp up next week with some paid ads and good stuff like that. So finally, with our dev department, super exciting stuff happening in dev this week. Our smart contracts have been tested by the admins and are great. I give a special shout out to our dev team. I know Ali and Sohail have been doing a fantastic job, working absolutely harder than they've ever worked to make sure that all this code is great and everything's ready for launch. The UI for the whitelist is being finalized today and tested by the admins, with the goal of releasing and launching the whitelist early next week. That's right, you heard that. We have the goal of launching the whitelist of early next week. We're looking for a Monday or Tuesday launch, so keep your eyes peeled on Twitter. We'll announce it there and obviously in the Discord channel as well. Additionally, the website design and content have been finalized. So our dev team is now working on finalizing the website. We worked with the admins on this one, who are really great resource, bouncing ideas off each other. We got super creative. I think you guys are going to love the website. So look for that to be launched soon as well. And additionally, dev work for LPB is underway. Obviously, you guys know whitelist, LPB, and then launch. We're getting there. We're working hard. We have an absolutely great team. And the last thing I wanted to discuss, I saw some comments in the community about multi-sig on Treasury and wallets. We're looking into a community multi-sig wallet, or at least having a community member on the multi-sig, again, just to increase transparency. Our compliance department is reviewing that right now to see if there's any compliance issues, but we're definitely looking into them. So as Phil said, there's been tons happening this week. I'm happy to update you guys. I'll pass it back to Phil to answer your AMAs, and you guys have a wonderful weekend.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kevin. Let's get right into these amazing questions from the week for the AMA this week. The first one that we have coming from Xshot is about Fiscus funds, specifically about the management there. I'll just read that question, and all these questions also respond to in print, just like we did last week. I think that gives us a really good for those that kind of want to see it, that may want to, look into some terms, that may want to break down certain elements of the responses. I think having that in print is ideal, and it also allows me and allows the team really to kind of see some of these responses that you guys have in these follow-up questions. And so again, we don't want to lose that as we keep going, as we go closer to launch. We want to make sure that we definitely have that. So I'll answer these verbally, and then we'll come back after the AMA and answer these in print as well, and get into some good conversation in print. So question here, each Fiscus fund will be managed by professional fund managers with a committee of fiscalites participating in various roles. What qualifications would you need for committee members? Will there be a discussion done via Discord, Zoom, or a specific channel to discuss a project? Is there a time frame that a member can be on this committee? So from a qualification standpoint, yes, we're looking at those that, again, if those that have project finance experience, that's awesome. A lot of those individuals that have been in the community have already come forth. Anybody else that hasn't, feel free to come forth. Those that have, let's say, project finance, individuals that are their family or friends, or individuals that you are in the community. They may not be as of yet. Invite them to the community. Those individuals and yourselves are the ones that we want on the committees, not just that experience. Remember, the goal of Fiscus is not just in just being the old guard, right? The goal is in helping everyone to see the benefits, but also in education, right? We only grow by learning. So therefore, the qualifications is would be more of time requirements. It would be more based on the ability to learn, the ability to grow, the ability to blend in perhaps your specific expertise into the discussion, into the project, and into Fiscus funds. Absolutely, to use my favorite word. So as far as discussions go, and the actual communication channels there, definitely Discord. We'll have certain channels set up, but we will be getting into Zooms for sure. That's something that even now, we do with project developers and project owners. That way they can in their what they're used to, they can share screen. They can talk about certain projects, even showing smaller project videos, one that have those, or presentations. As far as a time frame that a member can serve in the committee, for fairness, and it's something that we still have to iron out. But however, there should be some term to it, and we say that for several reasons. One, because again, there is that level of compensation, but two, it's really for fairness. We don't want necessarily individuals to be grandfathered in when it comes to Fiscus funds. The thought there is really to keep that fresh, to keep that kind of flowing. Now, when the kind of top level management of Fiscus funds, these are absolutely professional fund managers. When we look at their qualifications, we want to see that they have the ability to manage the level of funds that each of the specific Fiscus funds is forecasted to do over the next 2 and 3 years specifically. After that, it may be a situation where even inside of Fiscus funds, there's in essence, subsidiaries, maybe some specific entities that deal with certain asset classes or certain project types. And so as we grow, that would be kind of very similar to what you would see in a large asset management firm. Next question there was about nodes. The question was, which nodes are we aiming to invest in for short term, and how soon do we plan on investing in them, and how many nodes are we planning on buying, and which ones? Which nodes planning on buying? Again, we like the bigs. When we're looking at, and a name would be strong. We like strong nodes. We're At the same time, there's some others, especially on other networks, that seem to have some viability, that have a small amount of utility, that we feel that we can really kind of influence and kind of help them to increase their utility. But even separately from that type of nodes, we're validator nodes, are an absolute must. When we look at the spread between the financing that we can receive, and even the APRs and APYs on regular kind of validator nodes. Again, for normal crypto, a 9.7%, a 13 annually, an 18 annually, isn't just, let's say, the greatest thing, right? Everybody knows you can take UST to Anchor and get 19%, and some of the other things that you can do with stables. However, we know that we're here to benefit protocols. We're here to benefit Avalanche. We're here to benefit some of the other protocols that will be on, as far as from a cross-chain perspective. And so in solidifying those protocols, we need to have validator nodes on those protocols to help do that. That's one way that we can help do so. So if there's a specific node project that is doing that, then obviously we can benefit that node project. If it's the actual network itself, then we would look at doing both of those. And there's a possibility that the first nodes would actually be done pre-launch, by about 5 or 6 days pre-launch. If not, then it would be something that is post-launch. But definitely within the first 2 weeks to 3 weeks post-launch. When we talk about how many we're planning to buy, again, that's just a functionality of total financing that's earmarked for them, and what their current price is at that time. And so the thought would be too, if there are projects, and I think this is the beauty of Fiscus, is that each of you know about projects and about protocols that we honestly don't have the time to research, or the time to find, or the time to hear about and listen to. That's the beauty of all of us. I was thinking just the other day, I just happened to see Showtime, for instance, and he did something about, I think it was Freeway. I'd never heard of it. Again, it looked on a perspective, didn't dive into it, but a great way to maybe make some returns on stables. Um, that just highlights the fact of what having multiple individuals in this sphere that we're in now, when you look at us from the perspective of asset management, when you look at us from the perspective of being able to invest treasury assets through Fiscus funds, through project finance without any risk to Fiscus, we need that information. We need that from you, the community. And so very excited about what those implications may mean. So feel free, if you have those projects, DM those to me. Again, we'll start a list. I'll have one of the assistants kind of keep a rolling list of projects that we're going to look into. Now, long term, that whole process will definitely be more formalized, as far as including, in the very beginning of Fiscus, we had ideas for Fiscus, was a channel, one of the original channels. And so that same thought is behind what I'm saying now, which is, let's talk about those things. Let's have those active discussions, and more than that, let's select the best projects out of the ones that are out there, that truly have the ability to run. At the end of the day, that's what we're here to do and benefit on chain. We're not just here to benefit the off chain. Question 3 here, from Lucas, was about information about the multisig. Obviously, Kevin already touched on that. Just to get into a little bit more even detail there, we do have right now 6 signers on the multi. I'll go ahead and post those whenever we do the kind of written answer to these questions here. All those addresses will be made available, so everybody knows that, and who they belong to as well, so everybody can see and know. That's where we're at now. The second part of that question was getting into, interesting to know about funds and how they're secured, and who would have the right to different actions as far as changing reward yield rate, changing bonds, if there's, as far as bond pricing. Those actions we feel is really not top level, but those are vital to Fiscus. And so none of those decisions will be made without the community at large not only knowing about it, but those are decisions that for right now everyone would know about it. Here's where we're at. Here's where we've decided on the LBP price. Here's where we've decided on tokens and specific token issues. But at the same time, when we look at that, that's a question that we would be looking for voting to occur on. So those are not questions that we would just kind of unilaterally kind of choose to do. The goal is still decentralization. Again, all projects kind of start out in this semi, centralized manner. We want to get away from that. And that's what we're here to do. So just kind of reinforcing that, so everybody hears that once again. Question 4 here was a question about set asides This is from Andy Mick here. I'm having trouble understanding exactly how a set aside works. So we are going to put funds into a smart contract for the project that they can't access, and that is going to change whether a financing institution is willing to lend them money or not. How does having inaccessible funds make them any more attractive for an investor? Great question. And again, those that have been in the community, you know this, you know the answer to this. So if I ramble a little bit, it's a good time maybe to take a sip or even maybe use the bathroom. The reason why that works, and again on the surface it seems odd, but when you look at wherewithal, right, and ability, there are terms, and I'd love for somebody to feel free to dive into interim equity agreements, something that was big in the 70s and 80s, where you would have individuals and really larger institutions, kind of the predecessors to hedge funds and some of the pension funds, that would put up assets for corporates. And those corporates would never have access to the actual assets. Now they would pledge them, but the fund that put them up retained control, right? In a small way. Think myself and let's say I'm just looking out here in the audience. Let's say Hugh Blair and Oni. Let's say that the three of us were on an entity, and let's say Hugh Blair had $1 million, and Oni had $1 million, and I didn't have any, and they each in the corporation, we started they started two accounts, and each of them put their $1 million in their accounts, and I am not a signature on those accounts, but it's still inside of the company. So there's a lot of benefits from an accounting perspective in doing that. From a finance perspective, there's a lot of benefits, even though that is inaccessible. So what we have now, fast forward from the 70s and 80s to now, and so what we have are project finance firms that are built with so many areas where they are saying, okay, listen, we've mitigated all risk, we've insured the loan itself, we have a provider that the portion of capital that needs to be hard cost for legal fees, for due diligence fees, for site visits, for all of that, we have that taken care of by a group that's willing to come in and, let's say, take a sliver of equity or charge X amount for putting up those fees. What we need, though, is to show some wherewithal, to show some ability, and it can be structured exactly as we've structured it. And so it's niche, but at the same time, if you could consider, multi-billions of dollars niche, then that's where we exist. And so I think that maybe even in print, I could probably dive into that even a little bit more. But again, a great question there. Next question, getting into this is from DeFi Slug, talking about the 6 million tokens. With 6 million tokens at launch, just an estimation, the protocol will be launching with quite a high MC market cap. Will be interesting to see how it goes with the LVP. Even with a launch price of 25, that puts MC at 150 million. Quite a high MC for a new protocol. How do you expect to keep this going forward? Have seen many projects that launch at very high MCs then crash over time. Any thoughts besides just liquidity squeeze on how this will continue to grow? Even with buybacks built in, we will need quite a high amount to move the price. Then also, what is the expected liquidity? If aiming for 10 to 15% or more, that will require quite a bit of raise during LBP. About half of this, I think, is covered in the liquidity squeeze thoughts. We've talked about most elements of this, and the biggest thing to think about is this: with third party burn, we'll never, and this may be the first time that I'm saying this to the community at large, but we'll never really attain 100 million tokens. The third party burn starts immediately. It starts right at launch. Every time that Fiscus funds pays the ROI, there's a liquidity burn, or excuse me, there's a fist burn that is part of that. And again, we're talking about a full burn. I know there was a question earlier in the week that we were talking about and we had a phenomenal article that a lot had put out, and had some of you community members that contributed to that. Thank you for that. It was amazing. The implications of the third party burn have already been to the point where, I've been asked to do some other articles just about it, several interviews just about it, because it is something that has not been done, not just in crypto, but in all of capitalism, if you will. So super excited about that, and that we're the first to do it. But when we think about that, again, the thought is, and there's actually a diagram in the liquidity squeeze overview that shows that, I mean, we may be long term 20 million tokens, 10 million tokens. And not only is that the case, but because of the demand for the tokens by Fiscus funds, it is a twofold, it's a two-edged sword, where not only is the supply decreasing, but the demand is increasing. And so long term, to kind of answer that question, brought by DeFi Slug, long term, again, market cap will continue to increase because we're affecting both sides of the equation, which is kind of exciting that we're really the first to do that. When we look at MC, absolutely. I view, and I was kind of going on and on with the admins the other day, because we got in various discussions of this, and kind of some macroeconomic elements. And long term, I view MC as not as important as most. It's an easy determining factor when comparing kind of apples to chickens, I like to say, because when you're comparing two protocols and their MCs, again, they're not the same. So to use MC to compare the two has a lot of falsities to it from an economic standpoint. But even in looking at that, and because again, we realize that is a metric that is used by most, especially on a quick glance. But even looking at that and saying, you know what, from a market cap perspective, we know that what our initial tokens are going to be. We know, and all of you will know as well, before this next Tuesday, about the 27 projects that have fully come forth, and that we've put them in their various Fiscus funds buckets. That's what I've been doing all week. There's a total of 45, so there's 18 more that we're working on documentation on now. Even still, some of the 27, there's some documentation, but they're past the point of signing on with us, if you will, and of committing to their certain their specific funding levels. A lot of those are post launch. But even in looking at all of those, again, that gives us the ability to say, okay, we know what's coming into the treasury. Now, are we a little bit forward looking on that because we know what's coming into the treasury within the first 30 and 60 days? Perhaps, from that standpoint. Now, when we couple that with the APY, we feel sound in pricing, right? We feel sound in where we're going to come in at on the LBP. Only reason we haven't talked about the LBP initial price yet is literally because it's some of that's going to be dictated by the final outcome of the whitelist, just to get into kind of economics and tokenomics on that. So again, let me get more into that even in print. I hope I've answered that to a decent degree there. We do expect quite a bit of a raise via LBP. There are some participants of the LBP that we will make known before the whitelist. And we're doing that for several reasons, right? There's 57 of us on this in the audience right now, so I kind of feel like I can talk a little frankly. we're not dumb, right? So we realize that, for when we look at stages of NFT at a $5 level on tokens, whitelist at a 15, LBP at a much higher, and then a launch at much higher. We know that one man's entry is another man's exit, right? Or one woman's entry is another woman's exit. And so when we look at that, a sound person understands from a price volatility perspective that in essence, in a perfect world, one phase should be larger than the phase before it, right? When you look at normal finance and say, okay, if I bring in 5 or 10% and the funding is going to be 8 or 9%, I'm going to have a leverage return. Well, when you look at actual tokenomics of an entire token, it's those same elements. So we're built in essence on the same way. The difference is that instead of having a group that holds the bag, right, which normally in crypto is that last retail investor that comes in and they buy Bitcoin at 65,000, right? They are someone else's exit and they end up holding the bag and they end up taking the loss. The difference with Fisk is that we understand those elements. And the beautiful thing about our tokenomics is that by requiring the projects via Fiscus funds to buy, they actually become the exit for you. That's something that makes us very, very different, and in a way quite substantial for those that have been involved with the NFTs, with the whitelist, and even with the LBP. So just some kind of frankness there. All right, getting into this next question. Can we get more details about Fiscus Plus? Yes, that'll be before the whitelist, and you heard that from Kevin. That's coming quickly, which means that announcement is going to be before that as well. Again, Fiscus Plus is for protocols. It's a way that we are able to not only assist protocols, but really partner with protocols that have the ability to do large things, that have the ability to do their own utility. It's our way of utilizing our project finance for those protocols. And it's very profitable for the Fiscus Treasury because not only are we able to make the same ROI because we are bringing in the project finance element, but we also are charging them a certain amount of their native token, which by them utilizing the Fiscus Treasury and project finance should see an increase in value. So excited about Fiscus Plus. Second part of that question, on an earlier AMA, we mentioned NFT holders would have a special portal set up for them so they can track rewards from projects. Give more details on that. Definitely, that's a post-launch. That's a post-launch element. Only because again, let's get these projects up and funded. Let's get this, let's increase the value of Fisk. And of course, that portal will be set up, and we're excited to talk about the functionality of that as well. Most of that has been kind of designed and sketched out. And so as certain dev members are finishing and already finished with certain elements, then they'll be rolling into that. So they'll be busy for quite a while with everything that we have here. Next questions here is from BSID. First part, obviously multi-sig, we covered that. Specific on-chain projects buying at LBP. Absolutely, everyone will know that here before the whitelist, because again, one man's entries, another man's exit, so we understand how important knowing that information is. Projects that are locked in at launch and how many. Those initial 27 here will be listed before Tuesday. We'll also have some of their wallet addresses available as well. Liquidity Squeeze Thesis, when's that going to be available? Here in seconds. As soon as I finish this, we'll go ahead and upload that. If it hasn't actually, I think one of the admins has it. I think RP may have uploaded it, but we'll make a formal announcement on that for the whole community. All right, last question here. I think info on the projects and quite frankly, proof that they're real and locked in is essential to making a sound decision on how much to invest at whitelist. Can we confirm with absolute certainty that this information will be available before whitelist? Absolutely. 100%. Yes. Every day of the week. Yes. Affirmative. Without question and absolutely, because that's the favorite word there. So saying that to say, it's important. We understand how important that is. When we look at it's funny because we're talking about entries and exits. When we look at financing projects, right? One of the biggest things that you always see, especially from in project finance, is what is the exit. Project finance normally is designed to be somewhat short term, and we say short term to say, let's say 4, 8, at times 10 years. And obviously there's a lot that's a lot shorter than that. When we look at our role in projects, we're talking about 7, 21, 30, 60 days. But even the project finance firms, 2 to 4 years is pretty average. And so even looking at them, their biggest question is, what's the exit? How are we going to be repaid? How are we going to exit? And so it's the same, no matter what level of investor, what level of participant you are. That's always the question. How can we exit? Who's going to provide the exit, and where, and really how viable is the exit? And so again, we understand that intimately. We understand that. So great question there. I think that's all the questions that I'm seeing here. So we'll dive into those via print. Thrilled for further discussions when it comes to the liquidity squeeze. I'm excited that everybody will have that here within the next few moments. I thank everybody. I know it's a love weekend for a lot, kind of worldwide. So those that are spending time with family and with significant others, definitely wish you some good time doing that. And we're very excited about the activities that will be occurring here this next week. If there's any large outstanding questions, thoughts, anything else regarding excuse me, I lost my thought for a second. Any other questions that are pertinent, or anyone that has even asked me of any questions, feel free to bump those DMs. I'd say that even for Donnie, bump those DMs so that they're at the forefront, especially as we get to this whitelist, because if there are questions that are specific to that and specific to your participation in that, we want to make sure that we get those answered and answered quickly. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Kevin, and I look forward to really conversing with everybody more.
Perfect. Thanks, Phil. It's always great. You answered the questions in such great detail. It's really great for our community to have these AMAs. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Check the Discord, check the Twitter. We got a lot of big things launching next week. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. We're out.